I'm going to go ahead and call to order this regular monthly meeting of the Monument Planning Commission. Today's date is February 11, 2026. Thanks everyone for attending. Before we begin, I'd like to note that the Planning Commission meetings are open to the public in person and via a Microsoft Teams streaming application. All Planning Commission meeting information can be found on the Town of Monument website. The Planning Commission's role is to conduct public hearings and to make recommendations to the Town Council regarding land use matters in the Town of Monument. Each commissioner agrees to a non-partial, objective, and fair review, which includes no prejudgment of the projects. Should a commissioner wish to disqualify him or herself for any conflicts of personal or financial interest in this matter before us tonight, please say so now. For those attending tonight who wish to provide comment on agenda items, you may speak to the commission during the public comment section on the agenda. Those who attend in person will be called upon first and are asked to come to the podium and sign in with your name and address. Those attending via Microsoft Teams will be called upon next and are asked to utilize raise your hand option and unmute your microphone when called upon. We ask that if multiple people have the same comment, only one person speak on that same subject. And again, thanks for attending the meeting. We'll now start with roll call.
Thank you. Chair Egley.
Here.
Vice Chair Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Here.
Commissioner Parr.
Here.
Commissioner Baumer.
Here.
Commissioner Hatch, not here. Thank you. That concludes roll call.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Move to the first item on the agenda tonight, and that's the approval of the minutes. It was a fairly short meeting last week, so I move that we approve the minutes as shown. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
And would you take roll, please?
Thank you. Chair Egley.
Yes.
Vice Chair Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Commissioner Parr. Commissioner Baumer.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes vote. Motion passes.
Thank you. We don't have any public hearings or any other action items on the agenda tonight, but we do have some new business to discuss. We have applicant here to do some preliminary information sharing with us on Connexus Lot 1 development, and I'll turn it over to staff.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, members of the public. My name is Jenna Gorney. I'm the senior planner here in the planning department. This evening, we have applicants NES here just to present to the commission in concept their development plans for Lot 1 in the Connexus development. As you saw in your memo for the evening, we are not asking for any formal action tonight. We are just here to support the applicants in collecting some initial feedback and open the dialogue so they can create a more full and desirable application plan. They are proposing tentative application date for the 1st of March. So the next steps after this evening is they would collect any feedback and do their utmost to incorporate that into the development plans. So with that, I will turn it over to Angela of NES.
Thank you, it's Andrea. Andrea Barlow with NES. Thank you. So appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. It is an informational item. We are not yet the applicant. We've had a pre-application meeting. We are looking forward to submitting hopefully by the 1st of March, and that's our goal. But we wanted to come before you this evening to try and provide some background information. We have a few new planning commissioners who have not been through the various stages of the Connexus project as we have, and we wanted to provide a recap on what's already been approved, where we are in the process, and what we're proposing with this particular development on Lot 1 and how it compares to the approved preliminary plan. So we have, do I have a clicker? Or do I just say next slide? Okay, next slide. So we have a team brought together for this project. The developer will be Hill Point, and Mark Foster is here tonight to chat a little bit about Hill Point and what they do. Eric Shekel from Chuck Chapman is here, as well as Brock Chapman. So Eric will be talking about the progress that's been made on the Old Denver Road construction, the new Old Denver Road construction. We have Kimberly Horner, our civil engineers. I don't believe they're here this evening, and myself and Jason Allwine with NES. We've been working on this project from a planning and landscape side. Next slide. I think with that, I'm going to pass over to Mark to talk a little bit about Hill Point and who they are.
Thank you. So, excuse me. My name is Mark Foster. It's a pleasure to meet everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. Just a little bit about Hill Point, so you're familiar with us. Hill Point is a national multifamily developer. Our goal, though, and our mission, as you can see, is we're really focused on delivering what we've identified with as attainable housing, workforce housing. I think we've all become familiar with who those people are in our communities, especially during COVID, when they were asked to go back to work while we all sat at home, and they helped the community stay alive, the lights stay on, and people to survive during that time. And that's our goal. And so, and able to do that, what we have done is we're a fully integrated company. But again, we look to service the missing middle and those essential workers. And for that product type that we're looking at bringing to this community through a lot of research is a 2-bedroom apartment. We'll get into the site plan, I'm sure, later, but there's some townhomes on it as well. There are a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhome. We tend to focus and try to deliver a product that meets the 80 to 120% average median income in the area. And we think that target allows us, again, to meet that missing middle that we've identified ourselves with. Really, at the end of the day, we try to deliver a high-class luxury product as well. We are a national developer, like I said, and the biggest thing for us is that not only are we a good member of the community, we listen, we've learned a lot from Eric and Brock and Andrea through the course of the time here, as well as a community through some of our neighborhood meetings. But that's our biggest goal. And if we're successful here, we self-manage our own properties as well. So it's a Hill Point brand, it's a Hill Point person living there, helping that community grow and thrive. And it's really our goal to try to, like I said, be a good part of the town of Monument. So there's more information we'll provide through this, but I just wanted to introduce myself to you guys. So thank you very much.
There's a couple of additional slides that talk about Hill Point and who they are. So basically what Mark was discussing. Next slide. Yeah, and the next, and then. Okay, so here is a timeline of what's been happening on the Connexus property since 1980. So the Connexus property was part of a much larger annexation. It was originally zoned in El Paso County as industrial. So pretty much everything on the east side of Old Denver Road, west of the highway, from Baptist Road, almost all the way up to 2nd Street, was part of a plan that was approved in El Paso County for industrial use in 1981. Subsequently, it was annexed into the town of Monument, and it continued to be zoned industrial at that time, planned industrial development. It was actually part of the Regency Park overall development, which extends onto the east side of I-25. The area of west of Old Denver Road, which is the residential area to the west, that general, the Trails End, there's various different little communities, HOAs in that area. That was generally all zoned for residential in the late 90s and early 2000s. So the zoning of the residential came well after the original industrial zoning of the property. Skipping a few years up to 2020, when at that time Shuck Communities had purchased the property and looked to rezone it. Started with the area just to the south, which we call phase 1. between the two creeks, so where the church has since been constructed. There's a couple of sites there for development. That was phase one. And then following that in 2020, the area north of the creek up to Dirty Woman Creek was rezoned as phase 2 and 3 of Connexus for a mix of commercial, industrial, and residential uses. Then in 2022, a couple of things happened. A project was submitted for primarily, I'd say, industrial use in that phase 2 and 3 area. That caused a lot of consternation in the community. There was concern about a lot of truck trips and so on and so forth, particularly with the adjacent residential community. Then through that process, there was a revision to the preliminary plan. So a preliminary plan was submitted for that industrial. And then with meetings with the community, I've identified there in red stars where we had full neighborhood meetings. And then as a result of that kind of concern from the community, a group was formed, a focus group was formed that ultimately became known as Save Monuments. And we had many, many meetings with them in that 2022 period to make changes and formulate a plan that everybody could live with. So it satisfied the needs of the developer to have a viable development, but also satisfied the community in terms of having a balance and mix of uses that they felt were more appropriate. It substantially reduced the amount of industrial that was allowed, added some multifamily residential, some medium density residential, and one of the significant changes, which I'll talk to a bit more, was the proposed realignment of Old Denver Road. I'll talk to that with the benefit of the plan to show that. At the same time, in 2022, the Connexus Metropolitan District was approved. That provides the service plan for the development of the site and allows the developer to bond for infrastructure improvements, and also provides an ongoing maintenance and a maintenance structure, and also through that they've produced design standards as well. Then moving on to 2024, Lost Island, which is a proposed entertainment facility. It's kind of a mini golf. You can see some of the structures out there now. That was approved in 2024. It was the first project to come forward actually in the proposed industrial area. So just about 31 acres in the preliminary plan was proposed for industrial per the discussions with the neighbours, but approximately half of that was subsequently changed to be the Lost Island Recreation facility. So the actual remaining industrial is much less than was even proposed in the preliminary plan. And then in 2025, as recently as December last year, a project came forward on the area that was proposed, a medium density residential. It was proposed for a mix of detached or single family attached residential, and Meritage Homes came forward with a plan to develop single family residential at the lower end of the density allowed on the preliminary plan, and that was approved by the town council in December. And so here we are, and again, we had neighbourhood meetings, Save Monument meetings every step of the way. And here we are with the proposed multifamily development on Lot 1 by Hill Point. Again, we have had a neighbourhood meeting already and meetings with Save Monument. So I'll talk a little bit more about those. Next slide. Okay, so this is the Connexus phase 2 and 3 preliminary PUD plan. I'm going to invite Eric Shekel up in a second to just talk about where things are with the Old Denver Road realignment and construction. But I just want to point out the areas I was referring to. So the dashed line there shows the proposed realignment of Old Denver Road through the property. So the existing Old Denver Road, it's not showing up very clearly on this slide, but is the road that connects between the two and is adjacent to the existing residential. So it kind of goes in the alignment that you're familiar with. So our proposal is to turn that into the site and then connect into the old Old Denver Road to create a new local road that the old section, that the section of Old Denver Road that remains will just be a local road for the community. This is oriented obviously the wrong way. The north is the left-hand side of this plan. So the northern portion was a tract of open space that is to be dedicated to the town of Monument for open space. It encompasses the area around Dirty Woman Creek. The Lot 3 area is currently not proposed for any specific uses, but that was allowed for commercial and civic and office uses, and also there was an allowance for part of that to be multifamily as well. The Lot 4A and 4B, as it's shown there, that's actually subsequently been re-subdivided into Connexus Filing 3 Lots 1 and 2, but for the sake of this, the purple area was the area that was proposed for the industrial, and now the northern portion of that is the area where Lost Island is going. So only that remaining approximately 17 acres is available for industrial development. Lot 2 is the area that Meritage has recently been approved for single-family residential. That was a medium density development, and that was intended to act as a buffer between the residential to the west and the more intense uses on the east side of Old Denver Road, between Old Denver Road and the highway. So what we're talking today about is Lot 1, which was an area identified for 12 to 21 units per acre of high density residential up to a maximum of 399 units. South of that is a detention pond. There's also a detention pond further north. That's for stormwater detention to serve the entire development, because there's a grade break in the middle. So one part of the site drains to the north and most of the site drains to the south. And then a further area of open space on the south side, which is, again, the area adjacent to the creek. With that, on this particular slide, I'm going to invite Eric up to talk about Old Denver Road and just general progress on the development.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair. My name is Eric Checkle with Shuck Chapman. Been working on this project for several years, as you can imagine. Back a couple of years ago, we received approval of construction documents for, I know there's new old Denver Road and old Denver Road. I'm sorry, I'm going to use those same terms. So, but it's my understanding that old Denver Road for this segment is currently going to be renamed. What that name is going to be, it shows up on here as Crossfield, but it's my understanding that there's some discussions about renaming that to something else. So what I'm going to be talking about this evening is New Old Denver Road. On your plan here, the dashed gray line is New Old Denver Road. That's a 70-foot right-of-way with 3 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, and then a center left turn lane with tree lawn with detached sidewalks that are 5 feet wide. So that all fits in that 70-foot right-of-way section. Then there's also on either side of that right-of-way, there's a 10-foot public improvement easement that's been dedicated to the town, but it also overlaps Mountain View Electric's 20-foot easement that Mountain View has for their electric line, their switch cabinets, transformers, and things of that nature. So where, I'm sure you've driven by there and you've seen all the construction that's occurring out there, at least I assume you have. So we started construction in March of last year, and the water and sewer utilities are south of the project. So several years ago, back in 2021 is when we first constructed that cul-de-sac on the south end that serves the church. And there's some other property to the north of that. So that's our first filing. With that, we built that cul-de-sac down there. And so that's Wagon Bow Way. That cul-de-sac, like I said, was built several years ago. We recently received final acceptance of that cul-de-sac. And that cul-de-sac will be owned by the town, but yet it's maintained by Triview. So important to note here is that the road improvements for New Old Denver Road, that right of way will be owned by the town, but yet maintained by Triview. The water and sewer that we're constructing, that is Triview Water and Sewer. The storm sewer also will be maintained by Triview. So again, we started back in March of 2025 with the construction of the utilities. We started at Wagon Bow Way and we ran the sewer up across Teachout Creek, which is the tract A on the map that you're looking at here. That's the north half of Teachout Creek. The south half is in the first filing that went along with the church and the cul-de-sac development. So we've finished sewer and water from the south up through Teachout Creek. We've taken that water and sewer all the way to almost the northern tip of Lot 4A, which is the Lost Island lot. So that water and sewer is just about completed. That work will be completed in early March. If you've driven by lately, you've seen some large concrete storm sewer pipe, very, very large pipe, because the bulk of the site drains from the north to the south. There's 2 regional detention ponds that we're building along with this development to service all the new impervious surface that will be developed here. So there's the southern tract, the blue tract on the south end, tract B, and then there's tract C on the north end. We've completed the construction of tract B, except for the seeding and landscaping that goes in and around that pond. The outlet structure's been built, storm sewer's been built into it. And then they've just started construction on tract C, which is the northern detention pond, that only serves lot 3, the commercial retail parcel that Andrea talked about. So pretty much everything drains to the south. That's why those pipes are so big, is because that needs to transfer all that water to the south. That's the natural flow of the land, as that there's a ridge more or less between lot 4A and lot 3. So we're just following the natural flow of the land. All of lot 2 drains down into that southern pond. That storm sewer work will be completed also in March. Once we finish that work, we are going to start doing curb and gutter. So what our plans are today is to install curb and gutter. I call it the main line. So we won't touch the intersections until the summer. It's our intent to start that intersection work after school gets out, so that we're not impacting the bus traffic. So there's the southern intersection, which more or less lines up with Buffalo Valley Path. And then the northern intersection lines up with Creek Valley Circle. So the northern intersection is about where tract C is located, and the southern one is at the lot line between lot 1 and tract B. So what we're doing is you can see on this plan is that not only are we building New Old Denver Road, the dashed new road, but then also we need to curve existing Old Denver Road up to tie into it at a T intersection. So there'll be T intersections into New Old Denver off of Old Denver. And those will all be 3-way stop signs at those intersections with pedestrian crossing striping at the for pedestrians for safety purposes. The speed limit of New Old Denver is 25 miles per hour. So we're dropping the speed from existing Old Denver down. We really want it to feel more like a local street section driving through this development. As discussed, there's several residential homes on lot 2. We have the Family Fun Center that's going in on 4A, And then with Hill Point's development on Lot 1, we expect there'll be many families out here. We want to make sure that that Connexus is a safe area. So we'll start curb and gutter work in March. And then that's for the main line in between the two intersections. Then we'll go ahead and pave that section in asphalt. That'll occur in May and June, most likely. And then we're going to do the intersections. So it's our plan to start with the southern intersection and the north intersection. There's a good chance we'll have to narrow that down to single lanes with some flaggers to make sure, again, it's all about safety, to make sure that we're safe at those intersections. But that's the location where there could be some inconvenience. We'll make sure that we work with Dan and his team to put notes up on the town website if there is going to be impacts to traffic. We'll certainly put, like I said, flaggers out there as well as signage identifying the dates that laneage could be closed, so as to try to make this as least painful as possible. Our contractor is thinking that each intersection could take 3 weeks or so per intersection to do. There's still a lot of logistical work to work out with the contractors to make sure that we can get those done as quickly as possible. But it's our intent to put a whole bunch of thought ahead of it. We're not just going to go out there and tear things up and then, rebuild it. It's our intent to put a lot of thought to it before we start building those intersections to try to eliminate the most amount of impact to yourselves and to our neighbors. So it's our intent to be finished with the entire road and the utilities in late July or August of this year. So that is the plan. If you have any questions, please do let me know, either now or later.
Thank you, Eric. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the approved land use chart that was part of the preliminary plan. It's on the cover sheet of the preliminary plan. I just wanted to highlight here the data that was presented for Lot 1 on a 19.1 acre site. The density range was 12 to 20.89 dwelling units per acre. A bit of a strange number, I understand. We were committing to 399 units, and that's what it translated to in density. And then the maximum height that was allowed on the preliminary plan was 75 feet for this lot 1. So next slide. This was a chart that we presented to the town council, really at their request, to have a summary of the various stages of approvals through this project when we did the Meritage presentation in December. So this kind of tallies with, in a little bit more detail, with the timeline I presented earlier. It shows the master sketch PUD plan and zoning occurring in 2020, with what we call the master preliminary PUD plan in 2022, and at the same time the Metro District. There was also in this process a subdivision plat which divided Connexus, this is Connexus filing 2, which divided it into the larger lots that you have seen on the preliminary plan. So that's why when we call it Lot 1, it is actually a subdivided Lot 1 from filing 2. So it's not just a planned lot per the preliminary plan. It has actually been subdivided. And then I mentioned earlier the Connexus filing 3 replat, which converted Lot 4 into 2 lots. So we have lots 1 and 2 now, which is the old Lot 4 of filing 3. And the filing PUD for Lost Island occurred in 24, and then Meritage. And we also did a final plat for Meritage at the same time. There was a sketch plan process in that as well, because we were re-subdividing that lot 2 into smaller lots. So we did the sketch plan process. I think the relevance of the entitlement event is put on the right hand side. It kind of summarizes what I just said. But the interesting thing with this is that apart from the very first sketch plan, which had a 4-1 vote at Planning Commission, everything has been approved unanimously through the process. And the reason for that is because after that initial kind of, I would say, hiccup, I suppose we could say, where the large industrial was proposed and it created some concern in the community, we have worked very closely with the neighbours, with the Save Monument Group, to ensure that every step of the way we are delivering on the promises that were made in the preliminary PUD plan. So next slide, please. It must be an easy way of doing this, right? So this is the plan that we're looking at for lot 1. As I noted, the site area is 19.1 acres. We were approved in the preliminary plan for up to 399 units. We are proposing 354 units, so it's less dense than is permitted. And as Mark mentioned, there's a mixture of 2-bedroom apartment units, approximately 312, and 3-bedroom townhome units, and there's 42 of those to make up our 354 units. So our density is coming in 18.53 units per acre rather than the permitted almost 21 units per acre. I think also probably more significantly is our permitted height, as I just mentioned, is 75 feet, but we are proposing just under 42 feet for the apartments and 28 and 5 inches for the townhome building. So the height of the units is much less than what was originally permitted. The development also includes amenity centre, fitness centre, pool areas, and that's in the area that's immediately off the main entrance. You can see the pool there and the amenity and fitness centre around it. There will also be other areas for recreation, such as dog parks and so on, within the development, but we haven't refined those as yet. And that's also showing the development in the context of at least the southern end of the approved Meritage project. So you can see how generally the scale of the townhomes will be similar to the scale of the Meritage single family homes. In fact, I think they're a bit less tall, and then transitioning to the apartments towards a highway. So next slide. I think we have one that shows that a little bit more. No, sorry, that's the next slide. So this again is kind of summarizing what I've been mentioning as I've gone through the presentation, as how what the preliminary plan approved for this site versus what we're proposing. And so just to go through it quickly, we are proposing high density residential, but at a much lower density than the maximum allowed. We are proposing a mixture of apartments and townhomes at significantly less height than is allowed. We have met all our required building setbacks, and that was 50 feet to I-25 and 25 feet to Old Denver Road. There weren't any specific parking requirements in the PUD. We just deferred to the town's code, which would require a total of 552 parking spaces, and we are providing more than that, 734 spaces. We are providing, obviously the townhomes will be a little different in that they will have a 2-car garage and a driveway, parkable driveway for 2 cars, in addition to the 486 surface parking spaces primarily for the apartments, and there are 80 garage spaces. There are some garage blocks, which I'll point out in another slide. And then with the open space, I noted again that the north and south of Connexus provides those open space tracks, which are to be dedicated to the town. But in addition to that, and the public improvement agreement indicated that those dedication of those parcels satisfies the parkland dedication requirements for the entire Connexus phase 2 and 3 development. But additionally, we're providing on-site amenities for residents. Next slide. Yeah, so this is just showing some of the analysis we did as we were going through the layout of the project. So as I noted earlier, that the height of the townhomes is kind of comparable to that height of the existing or approved single family within the Meritage project, slightly lower. We specifically oriented the townhomes towards Old Denver Road to create that kind of community feel that was mentioned by Eric, to create an attractive proposition along Old Denver Road. So you've not got very large buildings. You've got more of a single family townhome residential scale. One of the things that we've heard at various hearings for different projects in my time working in Monument, which has been extensive, is that everybody likes to kind of preserve views to the west. So the initial plan was very different to this, and it really was showing the buildings pretty much lining I-25 and Old Denver Road. So we've rotated those to be able to provide some view corridors through the site. So as you're driving along I-25, you're going to get the benefit of being able to kind of have that view through the site instead of just looking at a wall of buildings. I mentioned the garages. So garage blocks are those smaller linear buildings. We have them mainly adjacent to I-25 to help provide a noise buffer from I-25 in addition to the landscaping that we're proposing and screening. And then similarly on the north boundary, there are some garage blocks to provide some screening to what could potentially be future industrial use on the southern part of original Lot 4. And then there is a sidewalk proposed along Old Denver Road, as Eric mentioned, and that will provide connectivity. So the Santa Fe Regional Trail will cross Old Denver Road on the south and north ends, as mentioned, but there is still going to be a sidewalk that will continue along that east side of Old Denver Road. So you don't have to cross if you don't want to. You could continue on the sidewalk. So there's some of the kind of evaluations we made. Also, the recreational facilities were in a different part of the site initially, and we felt that because we're creating that sort of strong entrance on Old Denver Road with a median, that it would be better placed in that location to create more of a inviting entry to the development. Next slide. So I've shown this slide before when we were looking at Connexus, showing the density transitions that were planned as part of this development. So the single family residential neighborhoods, the existing various neighborhoods to the west, all have varying densities ranging from around 2.8 up to 4.8 units per acre. And then the single family residential in Lot 2 by Meritage will be just under 7 units per acre. And then you have Old Denver Road, which is a major collector. And then that transitions to the more higher density use that's proposed on this multifamily residential, and also the more intense industrial and commercial uses on the east side of Old Denver Road. So it has been planned to provide this gradual density transition towards I-25. Next slide. So here are some renderings just to give an idea of what the project will look like. So this is an example of the apartment building. It uses different materials. There's quite a lot of articulation in the architecture, which basically means that there are parts that kind of come forward, the balconies are pushed back, and then there's some variation instead of having a blank wall. Also variation in materials, colors, and a color palette that will harmonize with the mountain feel of Monument and the color palette that is preferred here, which is more kind of earth tones, neutral tones. Next slide. And then I think the next slide is the townhomes, just showing that they will have a 2-car garage and a drivable parkway. They are front entrance, so the entry to the homes will be on the same side as a garage. A lot of townhomes will have the entrance on the opposite side, but these will be what we call front-loaded townhomes, but there will be kind of patios on the rear side and elevation treatments that will make it look attractive, because this is the internal view. The other side will be the external view to Old Denver Road, so the architectural treatments will be considered in that regard and provide active spaces there as well. Next slide. And here's another example. Well, this is the example of the rendering of the townhome from the Old Denver Road perspective. So even though this is kind of the back door of the property, it's been made to look like it's the front. Next slide. So this is an example of what the amenity center will look like. This single-story structure, again in the same color palette. The area will be, the whole site will be landscaped in accordance with the town's requirements and any additional requirements the design guidelines for Connexus may have. Next slide. And then I think the next one's a fitness center. So similarly, small scale building. Next slide. And this is just a summary of what we've done so far with our community outreach. So on January 13th, Mark and Eric both met with 3 representatives from Save Monument to run through the project and explain what was being proposed. And they had some feedback and comments about what type of amenity spaces could be incorporated and so on. And on January 20th, we hosted a neighborhood meeting that went out to a substantial number of residents in the area west of Old Denver Road, not the entire community, but at least the majority of the people who are adjacent to Old Denver Road. And 13 people attended, and the main question centered around what was happening with Old Denver Road construction and access, and Eric spoke to that in the similar way as he did tonight. Impacts of traffic on Old Denver Road, again, that was addressed in a similar way. We can talk more about traffic if you have any questions. The timing of development for this parcel, and on-site amenities to be included for the residents, and that was actually the representative from Save Monument who came to the neighborhood meeting as well, asking that question. So it was reasonably well attended. There wasn't anything particularly controversial raised, but we felt that it was overall a good meeting and very positive, generally feedback in that we were doing what we said we'd do on the preliminary plan. Next slide. So here are the next steps. We are, I think, planning at the end of this week to submit to the Connexus Design Review Committee for their review and approval, making sure it meets all their requirements. And then the initial submittal to the town, it says late February, 1st of March, that kind of time frame. And then we are hoping that we will be able to get through with the Planning Commission and Town Council meetings before the end of Q3 of this year, so that the construction kind of can really kick off at the end of this year. And they're looking at a year and a half, I think that looks like, of a construction schedule, and then the opening in Q2 of 2028. Next slide. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Jenna, do you have anything to add?
I don't at this time. Thank you.
Okay. I'll remind everyone that this is not a public hearing, so we won't be taking any public comment, but we will open it up some questions and comments from the commission to the potential applicant. And we'll start with Commissioner Trujillo. Thank you. Commissioner Peterson.
I appreciate the efforts being made to hold, separate neighborhood meetings. It seems like there's been a lot of effort put into this to try to get additional input on what's being proposed to try to accommodate some of the questions being asked and some of the neighborhood concerns. One question or clarification that you may not know at this time, from a noise study standpoint off I-25, is that something that has already been looked at or provided?
Yes, it was a note, a requirement of the preliminary plan to do a noise study with the multifamily residential, and that has been prepared and it will be included with our initial submittal, and whatever recommendations it makes will be incorporated into the plan.
All right, thanks. And it looks like from a traffic standpoint, no traffic signals will be required based on the apartment complex.
No, sorry.
No traffic signal.
Signal, we're not proposing any traffic signals, no. No, just stop signs at the three-way stops at the two intersections.
Okay, thanks. See, you mentioned self-managed for the apartment complex. Is that just hiring local staff or
I will defer to Mark on that one.
Yeah, so yeah, Mark Foster here from Hill Point. Yeah, as far as employment goes, it's obviously we look to hire locally, et cetera. We also look internally too to relocate people as well, whatever the best format is for the success. But yeah, there will be people. Obviously, it provides some jobs of maintenance, et cetera. And when I say self-perform, it's everyone works for Hill Point. So I think that's a big benefit for everyone that works for us and also the community. It's one point of contact. It's not like there's a third-party manager out there and you don't know who to contact. If there's questions or concerns, it's direct to our company headquarters.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I don't think too many other questions. I see some value in the apartment complexes in this area from a standpoint of all the commercial development coming in with Legacy development off of Jackson Creek Parkway with all the commercial development. So there's some housing needs that this can, provide with some of those jobs that are going to be coming into town. So appreciate the presentation. I think that's all I have right now. Thanks.
Commissioner Parr.
Yeah, I have just one question. On your density transitions, you have approved density of 12 to 20 dwelling units per acre. Then below that, you have proposed density of 18 dwelling units per ACE. What is ACE?
Acre.
Okay, so that should just be AC, not ACE.
Yes, which slide is this on? Do you know?
It's density transitions.
Could you go back to that slide just so I have context? Yes, so basically the approved density is between 12 and 20.89 DU per acre, dwelling units per acre, and the proposed density is 18 point.
Okay, my question was, I didn't know what ACE was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
That may be a typo if that's what it says, yes. Thank you.
I think your project looks very nice, though.
Thank you.
Commissioner Balmer.
Yes, it's my understanding these are income-based rentals, correct?
Well,
Which
I'll
were
let
the
Mark
A-
talk. They're not income restricted in any way, but I'll let Mark talk to that in more
Okay,
detail.
because when I see the AMI being 80 to 120%, what is the driver for that bring?
Yeah, great question. So to clarify, as you know, in our industry and what I think you guys are probably exposed to a lot with housing affordability, there's a difference between low income housing, which is government credits, tax credits, other sources of funding that help those individuals get in. And what we focus on is, like I said, the 80 to 120% average median. So when we look at that, we look at the area, that information's published, it's available, and we look at trying to balance that. And why we focus on that certain area median income of 80 to 120% is historically those people who fit that, they are overqualified for the subsidized called government housing, right? But they also can't afford the luxury housing that might be built here, the luxury apartment stuff that might be here, they're literally by definition the missing middle. And it's been our effort to try to focus on that. So just to help clarify kind of what that means and what we're looking at for someone who might live in these units and establish themselves in this community is that when we look at the area, if you were renting in our facility, there is a potential that you would be saving your household income. Our rents would be somewhere at your 19 to 20% of your household income. That's amazing. And then we'd also potentially looking at allowing someone to save $25,000 a year versus the cost of home ownership in this community. And so that's where that missing middle comes, because as you all know, it's so important that someone can find a safe, nice place to live in a community, establish themselves, be a part of the community, and find a way to save so that they can then buy a home, invest in college, do whatever they need. And that's our goal, is we want to try to find that place for that person. So that's when we talk about that measurement, that's how we start to look at these areas and communities and how we fit into that.
Okay, I just want to make a point of note that I did the research on the HUD and looked at the AMI for El Paso County, and we fall under Colorado Springs. So for your 3-bedroom family of 4, you're looking around $90,000.
Mhm.
So again, I'm trying to factor in my head practicality here. What are you actually going to charge? And can a family of 4 making $90,000, are they actually going to buy into this? That's all.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you were getting subsidies
No.
from this at all.
No subsidies.
Or tax break. Okay.
No, none of that.
And second question I had was in your townhome unit rendering on the backside facing Old Denver, where you said it looks like an entranceway. I noticed there's no gate, there's no barrier. Are you planning on erecting a barrier from this unit?
So we've discussed that. It's something that fits into the design plans with the master plan community, right? But also we try to look at this, and to Eric's and there's point, and I won't talk for them, but this is a very nice landscaped area. And what these are is conceptuals. There's going to be more details provided as we proceed through this process. But what we're looking at more is providing a front porch style of living. To Eric and everyone else's point, the new road is 25 miles an hour. That's the speed in my current neighborhood. That's a nice speed. The 4th of July parade is going to be going down this road. And we want to make sure that there's just that connection between the road, the sidewalk, and people sitting on their front porches. So as far as a fence goes or something, that's something we're still looking at and discussing as we go through, and it makes sure it meets criteria and all the other standards that are out there. But right now, this is just conceptual. So
yeah, I would probably dig further deep into that, because if you're looking at this industrial outdoor complex, it's gonna grow. I mean, if you're an investor, it's gonna grow. You're gonna get more businesses and more traffic, regardless of the speed, and people may or may not want all that available in their back porch area.
yeah, I think it's a great point. We'll definitely consider that. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you.
Ray, got a quick one for you.
All right.
Real quick question. Water. Where's the water coming from?
The potable water is coming from Triview Water and Sanitation District. So we're building a new water line up New Old Denver Road.
New water line. Is that renewable water or is it groundwater dependent?
It's not groundwater dependent. So
Okay.
if you're familiar with Triview's system, and I have some notes on that because let me grab those notes.
Very well, thank you.
So as Brock just mentioned, we've dedicated all of our Denver groundwater to Triview. But talking, Jim McGrady, we're at Triview. So they use the Northern Delivery System through Colorado Springs Utilities. So that is a renewable water source. So they still do have Denver groundwater basin water, but they're currently not using that water. They're relying on this Northern Delivery System.
So this project is going directly off of that renewable water system from Colorado Springs Utilities. That's what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Even though it's coming off of the northern supply route.
It goes through the Colorado Springs Utility System. So that's how they
Know it well. Yeah. Know the system well. That's why I'm just trying to figure out how the water's coming from there. Again, we'll figure that out when you submit it back up. I was just trying to figure out where the water's coming from. because my bigger project or my bigger question now lies, I mean, long-term water source for this project, for the amount of facilities that are going in. The concern is 3 to 5 years, we have a drought next year, 2 years, 3 years. What is that plan to subsidize that water? Is that going to be a Triview task or a taxation associated with the residents of Monument? Or is there something the developers bring into the table that may help us offset those costs for the public here in Monument?
Since this project is served by Triview Water and Sanitation District, they're responsible for providing the water to the developer.
100%. So the developer has no buy-in whatsoever to provide any
Well,
type of,
Well, our buy-in was we dedicated our groundwater rights to Triview to
and what,
use.
and that's just a standard groundwater aquifer? or-
That's our Denver Basin, Arapahoe,
Yes, sir.
Laramie Fox Hill water.
Okay, and again, this is going on, I just want to make sure that the long-term acquisition of that water right, at some point, the taxation will come back up because of drought, because of all the other pieces. We see this time and time again. We're seeing it right now with Colorado Springs Utilities. But even from the northern delivery system right now, the question is what is the developer bringing for the renewable water in the future for this project? Anything?
No, we're not bringing any other water to the
I'm
project.
not the water. I'm talking about the reclamation of the water, a water treatment plant, anything along that lines to build more density within this area.
We rely on Triview for that. I know they do have, they've talked about a renewable water source, being able to utilize their water rights after it goes through wastewater treatment. to
But
be able to
again, you as the
utilize that
developer,
water.
you're bringing in a product. I'm just trying to make sure I can frame the problem.
No, I appreciate the question,
Yeah.
Chair Egley, and Chair or Commissioner Trio. I think what this is, I think this would probably be better answered by me bringing in Jim McGrady and
Sure.
Triview to talk for them to share their systems with them. It's really not a one project kind of conversation. It's a water service question.
100%.
So I'm glad you're bringing it up. It's also going to be talked about in part in the comprehensive plan as we're moving forward. I'm glad you're bringing it up because it's important, but it's really not tied specifically to this project.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
The questioning is more delivered towards what is the project bring into the community? I get it. It's the water rights, no questions, but those are inherently owned by or dedicated to Triview. So we're building something that a long term, I would just have that framed when that presentation comes back up, something that is coming to the community on behalf of that, because inherently we're going to have to pay for it. We're paying for the water to come on inside here.
Another thing they're going to have to prove when they come in
Sure.
is that they're going to have a will serve letter from Triview to show that they have the capacity to do that, and that's not just a one-off letter. It's long term. It's like we would do for any of our other residents within the Triview Metropolitan District. We also do that for Forest Lakes Metropolitan District, Woodmore, and so on. They all have to show us that they've done their analysis to show that they can support and provide
And-
services. So
No, 100%.
but what I'm hearing from you, and if the rest of the commission is looking for more information on that, I'd be glad to set up a workshop or a presentation from the Triview Metropolitan District and others to talk about those issues, because I can only understand that it's got to weigh heavily on people not knowing, especially where their water is going to be in the future. So I think it's a good discussion, but again, it's not a one-off project kind of discussion. It's a much bigger global discussion. We're going through the process right now as a town, trying to determine where our renewable water is going to be coming from and who we're going to be working with. So it's all very much in tune with what we're dealing with.
100%, Dan. And I'm just saying that again, right now, within those aquifers, within that Triview Water Northern Delivery System, what is the inherent plan long term? I would love to talk to Triview, go over there and have that conversation. But inherently, we're almost putting a cart before the horse, because we're going to keep building. But again, what does this sustain that in the long term? So I'm not nicking you and saying you're responsible. I'm saying that ultimately that will serve letter. At what point does that water aqueduct go away? And now we as a community are paying outlandish fees just for our water. That's my concern as a resident. And I'm sure you understand that. So again, I would just have that ready to go. I understand a will serve, but even on a will serve, the questions even compile more.
And I appreciate that. And I think that the most important thing for us about TriView is that this northern delivery system is a renewable water source.
100%.
That's what's incredibly important for TriView and important for the whole town. But do note too that even though we did, give our Denver Basin water to TriView for their portfolio, still every one of the Meritage homes, they still have to pay a water tap fee. With that, there's a water resource fee that TriView uses to acquire additional water sources to pay for the key water that we've been talking about, the northern delivery system, but also they have reserves of funds to go out and be able to purchase other water sources, either renewable, other Denver Basin water. If we need.
100%.
So I've been working with Jim McGrady for over 4 years.
Sure.
I've got
sure. And that's the
ultimate
question. I mean,
confidence
the public doesn't see that. I see it being here in this
Yeah.
realm. So that's just something to consider when you bring in that final
Yeah,
request.
I'd love to
Yeah.
attend the study session with Jim, and he's obviously more qualified than I to present.
Number two that I have for you is within the school. The school, when we start talking, there's the Chesterfield matrix that identifies schooling and kids and how many apartment buildings are going to be bringing in. How many apartment buildings per unit? How many kids will be going to the school? How many different numbers will be coming in from a townhome? Are you familiar with that? It's a Chesterfield benchmark.
Not specifically familiar with that. We rely on the school district to use their calculations of
Okay.
how many school children they anticipate from apartments, which is traditionally much less in single family residential. And they are also part of the review of the application, and they give an indication of whether they feel there's a need for any additional school facilities. But they've got a substantial. I've worked with District 38 on numerous occasions, and they've got a substantial long-term plan for providing additional school capacity. There's a school site at Forest Lakes and so on.
Would the development be interested, obviously, that right now, even in a mid-use Chesterfield benchmark for apartments, it's 312 apartments times 0.34, roughly about 106 students just from the apartment buildings alone. That's just the benchmark. Now, whatever District 38 is using, great. Just using a standard here. When you look at a townhome, you're looking at 42 units, 0.29, obviously 12 students per. So that's a total of 118 students coming into District 38. My question, I guess, becomes, let's say capacity is met now. I don't know that to be true. Let's say it's even 90%. Now our schools are tapped out. What is the premise, or what is the proposal, or is there something the town, I mean, in doing this like this, and we keep growing and growing, that consideration would be put forth to donate more land, just like you did when District 30 for the school that you all donated, not the school, but the land to the west over here in that community to the west. I can't remember the community up there. There was a donation that you extended land for one of the schools over there. I'd have to go back and look, but just things like that. My concern is we grow. What is the?
As I said, we rely on the school district to tell
Sure.
us if they need land or if they want fees in lieu of land.
Sure.
And invariably for smaller projects like this, which is relatively small in terms of generation of students, they want the money because they have the land. School District 38 has the land already dedicated for schools. Like I said, there's a school site at Forest Lakes. They just need the money, and they need to pass the bonds to be able to build the schools. So it's not a land issue for District 38. They will tell the residents of this development where their kids need to go to school, where there is capacity.
Okay, that's all I got. Those two. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have a couple of things. If I could have you put up the design standards comparison chart for a second, Ray. And maybe this is a question for Mr. Foster. Why only 2-bedroom multifamily apartments and not a mixture of 1, 2, and 3? It kind of pigtails a little bit on what Commissioner Balmer had to say, that it seems to be that there would be a greater deal of affordability on a one-bedroom apartment for some of the workforce that might be looking for that. And I'm just interested in why that might be, how you set things up.
Yeah, great question, fair question. And it really goes down to just our history as a company. We have looked at this area and we still feel that a 2-bedroom services this area better. We've seen efficiencies and we've just seen that success. But we also look at it more of we're providing a 2-bedroom apartment at a lower cost, right, is our goal than the rest of the market. So some people then now get to afford a 2-bedroom and they couldn't afford a 1. And now they have a guest room. Now they have an office. They have other things for their, extended family to visit. So it's a balance between, but we feel that we like to deliver a 2-bedroom to give those people that option. A lot of people live together now instead of a 1-bedroom. Same things. There's a pain and there's a plus and negative to each of that, right? Same thing about building a townhome that's 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. Why isn't it 5 bedrooms and 3 baths? Well, we think that we can deliver a product at a good price for the community that meets that. But more importantly, we're providing a mix of product type that allows someone to move within our community. So someone's in a 2-bedroom, their life grows, they need more friends, they need another person to live with, they have a family, et cetera. They can now go into a townhome. Vice versa, they're in a townhome, life changes. If you're in a home and your life changes, well, it's a little bit different story, right? But for renting, now your life changes, you can downsize to a 2-bedroom. So we just feel that balance of the 2-bedroom apartment and the 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom bath best services this location.
Okay. I guess for purposes of discussion tonight, I think this is just kind of a wish list. Whenever the applicant does come back before us, whoever that applicant might be, I would prefer to entertain a more diverse mixture of the multifamily apartments, but that's just me. I would say, as I can look at the comparison chart, I do want to say thank you for reducing the building height. 41 feet for a 3-story apartment building is, I think, more than manageable, and I appreciate that. And the last thing I would say, in the open space that's listed at the bottom, or the on-site amenities for the additional amenities, may include a fenced dog park, pickleball courts, functional turf areas. My only comment to that is yes, we definitely need that. And so I would like to see that come to fruition as well. A couple of other things that I had just as a kind of a wish list. One of my big things that I'd like to see us do more in the town is to try to make things more accessible via the trails. And I noticed that at the southwest corner of this particular lot, Santa Fe Trail comes to that point where it turns back to the west slightly to cross over the new Old Denver Road. But there's no real access to that at that point from this lot, other than coming down and then riding along the sidewalk. So I'd like to see something that we could get to the Santa Fe Trail a little bit easier through the development, rather than riding along the Old Denver Road on the sidewalk. And I'd like to see that paved as well. Also, I do appreciate the differentiation and the I don't know what the architectural term that Andrea used to break up the look of the apartments, but I drove around and I saw a lot of different apartment buildings in the last week, and one of them that I saw that was down south is called Falcon View, right off of Interquest, and they've got a kind of a unique way where they break up the skyline with the buildings, where one side of the building is a 2-story, then the center part of the building is 3-story, and it goes back down to 2-story on the other side. And it just gives it a little bit more of a less as an imposing, just 3-story building in your face kind of a thing. So, and they have a mixture of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom options in that particular building as well. And the last thing that I would note is that I only see 2 access points to the development off of Old Denver Road, both for the inlet and the outlet. And I'm just wondering, if we add the number of units that we are going to add there, we're adding between 1,000 and 1,200 people to the population of Monument, between the Meritage Homes to the west and this development, I mean, that's almost 10% of the town of Monument living in that space. And to limit that and the number of vehicles that are going to probably be, I think your traffic study would indicate, even after the reduction in the number of homes, probably around 3,000 vehicle trips a day. That's a pretty significant amount to funnel through two entrance points. So if there's some consideration that can be given, even if it's at the far southwest end of the project where Santa Fe Trail crosses over and there's some meeting point there where we can get some additional access either in or out, primarily for an emergency basis. But again, these are kind of wish lists. I think that's really what we're here to do tonight more than anything, and to get your feedback on that. So any other questions from members on the commission? Any other comments back from the potential applicants? All right. Staff, anything to add? All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming in front of us. We'll move on to non-agenda public items. If there's anyone in the room that would like to bring something to our attention, please come on up to the podium now. Ray, do we have anyone online that would like to make a comment?
No, there is no one online at this time that would like to make a comment.
Next, we'll go to reports, communications, and announcements. Any reports or announcements from the staff, or I mean from the commission first? Anything you all want to say? One thing I do want to say, I wanted to say that Jenna did a great job tonight, even though she's already out of the room, but make sure you tell her, and did a great job. And I appreciate her coming on board, and I'll let staff take it over from there. Jenna, you did a great job tonight, and welcome aboard. I just wanted to say thanks for all you did.
Well, I guess with that, Jenna, if it's okay, I'd love, you can stay right there for a second. I formally introduce you. She's our new senior planner. She's come to us with a decade of experience. Very happy to have her on board and have her part of your review process and working with the development community. We've got a lot going on, so it's good to have someone with that experience. Maybe you can give them a brief introduction of who you are and what you bring.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, to start off, I gotta say that my interest in Monument very much started with how dedicated our elected officials are with protecting the community. So I really appreciate that. It is a really good characteristic. As Dan mentioned, I have about 10 years experience in the business. I grew up in Pennsylvania, in Erie, Pennsylvania, as I have a cohort on the board here. I started off in Mill Creek, Pennsylvania, and got my internship there after graduating from Edinboro University. Moved to Central Pennsylvania and then off to Moab for several years as well, where I learned that I very much enjoy working for a smaller community. You really feel the effects of your efforts on the ground, and you have the opportunity to make closer connections with your community. And I've learned here especially that the communication and cooperation that you see within your departments and your agencies is so nice, and things don't get lost in the mix. So I'm really resonating with that here. I was at Moab for 3 years and then on to Grand Junction for another 2. And that brought me here because I was feeling that I had a little bit more to offer a smaller community. So not only that kind of quaintness of a smaller community, it's so exciting to be coming in at a time where you all are growing so much. And so as we're developing these long-term plans, it will be so interesting to see the long-term effects of that early planning. So I appreciate you welcoming me. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Dan, Ray, anything else?
We're going to be, Eric had mentioned the old Denver Road and the old name. Jenna's going to be working or presenting to council at the beginning of March a public process for renaming that street. that section of road. And it's going to be quite extensive. It's actually going to be fun outreach. We're not just having 3 or 4 people rename the road. We're hoping to bring the whole community together to come up with a good name for that road. So keep an eye out for that at the March 2nd meeting, I believe it is. So that's fun. The comprehensive plan is moving forward rather well. We had a bit of a slowdown because our grant program expired last August. As a surprise to me, but we had gotten that grant quite some time ago. DOLA has since given us another grant, or a phase 2 of that grant, to finish our comprehensive plan. So we're moving forward with that now. We should have the summary for the visioning process completed sometime by mid-March. And then we're going to go into really writing the document. So, which for a while you'll probably see us disappear, and then we'll come back into the public view and start doing outreach and testing of that comprehensive plan. What I'm finding really exciting now is we're already starting to incorporate some of the concepts of comprehensive planning in our budget, our everyday functions here in Town Hall. In the back wall here, you see our strategic priorities that council worked for quite some time to put together. Those, and then the pillars, we're calling them, with the comprehensive plan, will then become part of the budget process. So you'll see when we bring a resolution forward or an ordinance forward to council. Right now, one of the whereases is what strategic priority is that resolution fulfilling. We're going to do the same thing with the comprehensive plan. If there's we're going to mention the pillars that are in the comprehensive plan. So when you approve a project, it'll not only describe the findings, but it'll also describe how it meets the goals of the community and through its comprehensive plan. So it's just reminding us that these plans are so important in guiding our future, that when we make decisions to spend money or to build infrastructure or to approve a plan, we're doing it with thought rather than just a quick response through a process like we typically go through. So I'm very excited about that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can really announce tonight. I really appreciate you guys sitting through this. This was different. This was an introduction really to a project. I think that they were pleased with some of the feedback, and I hope that helps you understand the project more, so that when they come back in the formal public hearing process and you hear it again, and you see some of the changes that might occur, that it'll help you in your review and whatever recommendation you might have for the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Well, our next meeting is March 11th, 2026. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is now adjourned.